Paws Up Podcast is back. Episode 7. It is the dynamic duo of Jake Gibson and myself, Kevin Barral. We are back. No guest today, just Jake and I, talking some FIU basketball. Gotta show love to FIU basketball, Jake. I mean, these guys have been killing it. I know it was a rough game yesterday against FAU, but they played their asses off, and you really cannot be disappointed about their play in the last couple of weeks. They beat UAB, they beat Charlotte, two huge Conference USA teams, and now a huge stretch coming up for FIU basketball. Every single game for the remainder of the season is a Conference USA game. What's up, man?
And the schedule is only going to get more difficult and more grueling as it progresses. But yeah, like you said, FIU basketball has been playing super hot as of recently. And before we get any further, just want to say hey again and thank you all to who's watching on Twitter, YouTube, or Facebook, and just happy to be back. And it's lucky number 7. You know how lucky the number 7 is, and hopefully that means we're going to have an extra special show today. I hope we do,
and we certainly will. We have a lot to talk about. Well, obviously we're gonna show love to FIU basketball. We have actually FIU football news, Jake. I mean, we're talking about the new schedule that was just released a couple days ago, I believe, or last week. And FIU made a huge signing in the transfer portal with Avery Huff, who is now an FIU Panther, formerly a Miami Hurricane. And I think it's just fair to use this clip for that.
Right. Lights out! Lights out!
We're going to use that clip until the day this show ends. That clip needs to make a cameo every episode. It needs to roll at least once.
Oh, 100%. All right, well, let's get into it. FIU basketball. Let's talk first about the positive. Obviously, they got a huge two-game win streak, which started against Charlotte, winning 62-60. Then you go against UAB, and you beat them. I believe it was pretty convincingly, if I can be correct. But let's talk about the Charlotte game first. Jake, what were your thoughts?
So the Charlotte game, what really stood out to me was how dynamic Denver Jones was, especially that game. He was FIU's leader in points, rebounds, and assists. He did it all in a nail-biter against Charlotte. And again, prior to the game against Charlotte, they dropped a tough one to North Texas, which began their Conference USA stretch of the schedule. I know they played FAU a couple of games back, but now from here on out, it's just Conference USA, and that began with North Texas. They didn't look amazing, but again, Denver Jones had a fantastic game then. And as in the game against Charlotte, where again he averaged 20 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 assists, led FIU in all those categories. He's played very consistently, starting with North Texas, especially in Charlotte, and also against UAB and Florida Atlantic. Denver Jones has been the man when it comes to points for FIU, and he sort of steered the ship for them. And I think that was really noticeable in their game against Charlotte, where he did it all.
Yeah, I also want to give a nice shout out over to Dean Arturo, the freshman. He dropped, let me check, I think it was 15. He dropped 15, I believe, 15 points, 2 steals, 1 block, 1 rebound against Charlotte. So that's another player you have to give a nice shout out to, just getting it done on the defensive side. He also, his 1 rebound was an offensive rebound, 7-13 from the field, did not shoot a 3-pointer, shot 1, missed it, 1 for 2 for 3 free throws. And then you got to give a shout out to Mohamed Sanogo, man. Jake, FIU has a couple 7-footers, but they really haven't turned to those guys when you look at it. I mean, 2 minutes for Dante Wilcox, who I believe is one of the centers, if I'm correct, who's, I believe, 7-something. This guy's huge. And, he's 6'6", so I'm not naming the right player. I believe it's Seth Pinckney.
Seth Pinckney, yeah.
Seth Pinckney, who is 7'1" as a junior, did not play that many minutes, only 9 minutes, and you're going with Mohamed Sanogo playing 27, 9 points, 5 rebounds, 3 for 3 from the field, 27 minutes. This guy, you have to give him a shout out. He's been huge for FIU. We watched it against UIW. We watched him. He made that game-winning block. Also had that game-winning dunk, I guess you could even mention, from the lob. We were there. You have to give him a shout out. And then I want to go quickly now to the UAB game, which, I mean, I want to talk about, where is he? Nick Guajarama. 19 points, career high for him. had 1 steal, 5 rebounds. Obviously, the leader in points was Denver Jones with 29 points,
Mhm.
5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 for 7 from the 3-point line, 41 minutes. He played
Yeah.
the whole game. He played the whole game, I believe. I mean, because obviously it's 2020 with
Yeah.
NCAA basketball. Also had 3 steals. Want to give a quick shout out once again to Arturo Dean, who dropped 16 points, 4 rebounds, was huge on defense with 4 steals, 36 minutes played, almost the whole game as once again. Then Mohamed Sanogo, once again, 5 rebounds, 10 points, 29 minutes. And you see Seth Pinnicky, 16 minutes only with 4 points. So you have to feel really good about FIU basketball and the way they're playing, and especially against FAU, which they kept it tight basically the whole way through.
Yeah.
There were moments where FIU had a pretty nice lead. FIU obviously they lost both quarters. They actually won the second quarter.
Yeah.
They scored more by 1, obviously, but they kept it tight. You could see they kept it tight. So I want to get your thoughts on the FAU game.
Before we get to the FAU game, something I noticed in their game against Charlotte that was a struggle for them early on in the season as they were sort of building chemistry with, again, a very young team that FIU has.
Yeah.
Something that I noticed in their game against Charlotte was they got down early. For most of the first half, they were losing by 2, 3, 4, 5, and the Panthers that we've seen in the past against opponents like Bryant, Eastern Michigan, Florida Gulf Coast, they would fall early and just never recover. They would pretty much lose the lead and then never regain it for the rest of the game. That's something that we saw quite a bit with FIU. But in their game against Charlotte, 2 minutes left to go in the first half, they managed to tie and even take the lead and then have it end up tie at halftime. And in the second half, they gained the lead early and sort of maintain it for most of the second half. It's not in the past of this season where, like I said, they would fall early, they would stay with a deficit, and it would be too little too late for them to make a run and tie or win the game. That's something we saw within the first 5 games of the season that was like, oh, I don't like that about this team. When they win, they win, but when they lose, it's because they've been losing for a while in the game. That wasn't the case with Charlotte. They played a full 40 minutes of solid basketball, and that really shined through right before the first half when they tied it up, and they kept the momentum and walked away with a win against Charlotte. Now, FAU, I was very impressed with the Owls. Keep in mind that for this entire stretch against Charlotte, UAB, and FAU, the opposite team was favored in every single game during that stretch. And against UAB and FAU, it was double-digit favorites for the Blazers and the Owls. That a lot of people thought FIU would have no shot in those. They gave it 100% effort against Florida Atlantic, and while they came up short, let's not forget the type of season that FAU is having. They are having probably one of their best seasons in recent memory. The Owls.
Yeah, they win this week. They're ranked.
Yeah. 14-1 heading into this game, a perfect 4-0 in the conference, and FIU matched up with them. FIU had a better field goal percentage, a better 3-point percentage. They committed less turnovers. Those are 3 very important statistics that FIU led.
You could even argue FIU had the better game.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And for most of the game, FIU was in command. It was up to FAU to respond, and late in the game, that's what they did. And in overtime, the Panthers fell flat. And while it was even, Panthers kind of laid an egg. And late in the end, and FAU hit some very important free throws to seal the game late. But for most of that game, FIU looked like the 15-1 team, not FAU. And that's what I was really most impressed with. And they played up to the competition.
I was writing in my preview of this game that a player need to watch out for is Golden Vladislav, who is their huge center. I believe he's 7'1". And I said, you got to stop this guy because this guy's going to get you some rebounds. And he didn't lead the team in rebounds, but he was number 2, and he made some huge shots for FAU towards the end of the game. So they got you there. they kind of how can I even say this? Because these guys all scored 12 points, but Elijah Martin, FIU, you could say stopped them. In terms of what he could create, he was the leader. He was not the leader. He wasn't even the leader in assists. So FIU stopped him pretty well, and that's kind of where I wanted to allude to go back to the UAB game where they stopped the best player and maybe in college basketball right now, and it's Jordan Walker.
Yeah.
He scored only 5 points on FIU, Jake. I mean, when you talk about focusing on the game plan and going towards the guy that you know is going to be the best player on the court, Jordan Walker was that guy.
Yeah.
And they really got to him. And obviously, I mean, you allowed their second best guy, Eric Gaines, to go out there and drop 19 on you, but it's okay because you stopped their best player. You stopped their best player. You adjusted to the game plan that you kept true to your game plan, is I guess how we could call it. Yeah. So I really do love how they played against UAB, and this did go into overtime, and FIU dominated overtime. But I mean, you really played well against that team. Not much you could say about the FAU game, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted to mention the attendance. 2,244 fans showed up to watch FIU versus FAU. The second deck was up, Jake. And we look at maybe attendance against UAB, which you would have thought maybe around a similar crowd, right? No, 1,152. So, and I want to look at the game we went to because I'm actually very intrigued to see what this looks like. Jake, there's not even an attendance. That's how little people may have.
That's how low the game against Incarnate Word was. So the Incarnate Word game. Now there are some caveats to this because again, keep in mind the Incarnate Word game was when was it? It was on December 21st during winter break. Most of the students were not on campus, right? Let's keep that in mind. But still, when you and I were there, as soon as 30 minutes before the game started, there was literally maybe 10 people in the stands.
It was right? Really bad. You could count it with your own hand. You could
count it. That's what I did at tip off. I counted. I want to say
39.
39 at tip off. Right, and I'll give some credit. There are a lot of students that came in late. The Miami crowds, regardless of the sport, lots of people come in late. Okay, but compare that to FAU. It was a night and day support for this FIU team. And I really do think that their wins against UAB and Charlotte really sparked the interest of FIU students and just alumni and fans that, hey, maybe this FIU team we got is legit. Let's go and support them. We'll go to the games. We'll spend some money, get some tickets, get some food, yada, 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 right? And that all sort of peaked against FAU. Now, keep in mind that the Owls travel well to games at FIU, regardless of if it's football, if it's baseball, and in this case, if it's basketball, they travel well, right? Mm-hmm. When I was a student at FIU, I went to my fair share of FIU, FAU games, and the crowds of FAU fans, they were abundant, and it was lively. It was loud. They would bring signs to the game. I remember when I think it was during my sophomore year, FIU played FAU at the Ocean Bay Convocation Center, and there was a sign that an FAU student brought. That was this was during the peak of that one meme that was a direct comparison of the Krusty Krab and the Chum Bucket from SpongeBob, right? Oh, and he just brought up a sign that had the Chum Bucket as FIU and the Krusty Krab is FAU, and it wasn't very funny, but it was if you're a big sign that this rivalry matters to these two schools. Yeah, there's a lot to fight for, and that game against FIU that we saw yesterday might have been one of the most enjoyable basketball games to sit down and watch completely because it was even pretty much the entire game. And FIU put on a show. FAU put on a show. FAU was ultimately the team that won. But regardless, the crowds at the FIU games are always great, regardless of sport, but especially in basketball because there's obviously not as many seats in the basketball arena as there are at the football stadium. But the crowds are always great. And I got to say, Kevin, I wish we had gone.
I regret not going. Yeah.
But it's okay. It would have been fun.
We'll go to more games.
We watched it.
We watched it, and we have a lot more games to go to. I mean,
Mhm.
these games are super big for FIU. But before we kind of preview what's next for this team, I want to give some shout outs to Denver Jones, who was named last week the Conference USA Player of the Week. Arturo Dean was named the Freshman Conference USA Player of the Week. So other players, I guess, deserve a shout out. Mohamed Sonogo, we spoke about him. Nick Guadarrama and Deshaun Gittins. Deshaun Gittins was the man who hit the game winner against UAB. So shout out to him. What else can we even talk about before we go into news break? A little short talk there, but yeah, no, I guess now it's time to talk about what's next.
Let me quickly mention that
Yeah.
Elijah Martin for FAU averaged 13.2 points per game and has had many times this season where he's absolutely smashed that mark. FIU's defense limited him to just 12. So his over-under for points per game, he hit the under. And that's how good FIU's defense limited a lot of FAU's big-time players. No one for FAU got over 20 points. Now
that's what's been with them all season. I've noticed from past box scores, and these guys don't score too much. They're very team oriented, and I guess that just is an attribute to their defense, to their defense, of how good it is and how good they're stopping these teams. Because yes, it's not blowouts, because we saw the UAB game, we saw those games they played. They were very damn close games. But I mean, yes, they're playing very. I guess it's team basketball, very team basketball. I guess we could say. They're playing they're very well. They play very well. That's how
I also noticed a very stark difference between how these two schools played. FAU relied the most on their bench to do most of the scoring, as FIU, most of their scorers started the game, such as Arturo Dean and Denver Jones, right? For FAU, 3 out of their 5 bench players who played in the game got over 10 points, compared to their starters. Only 1 player got over 10 points who started the game, and it was Nicholas Boyd. So just another interesting.
It's very weird. I call it weird.
I thought it almost feels like yin and yang between FAU and FIU, how their scores get the job done.
All right, before we get into news break, let's kind of talk about what's next for FIU men's basketball. I'm going to try to share my screen here, Jake, just so the fans could see what is coming up here. And let's see, can I just do Chrome tab? Yeah, let's do Chrome tab here. So let me know if you see my screen.
It's still a learning experience, folks.
There we go. You can see it there. We have so here we see Western Kentucky. So as you can see, all is Conference USA. I'm just going to scroll all the way down. It's all Conference USA, and then the tournament is March 8th. So that I believe is in Texas.
Damn.
So
it's January 12th, and we're already bringing up the tournament.
Just wanted to give it a subtle shout out.
Very subtle. Yeah.
We have Western Kentucky, University of North Texas. Huge game at the Convocation Center. We got to get Jake out there some of these games. I can't make.
I'll see which games I can make it out to. Hell yeah.
University. We have El Paso. That one's in Texas. UTEP, UTSA. So 2 games in Texas. Then they come back for Western Kentucky, Middle Tennessee. That may be the game I hit up. That may be my next one, Jake.
Yeah,
it's a Saturday game. Why not?
Go ahead. I do love those Saturday games. Yeah.
Then you have Charlotte, at Charlotte, UAB in Alabama, Louisiana Tech, Rice. Rice is a pretty good team. Yeah. And then you have Middle Tennessee, UTEP, UTSA. Those are both in the Convocation Center. That may be another game I hit up. Rice University and UTSA. And then to finish it off, you have UTSA and Rice. So it's not easy, Jake. That's kind of where I wanted to allude to. These teams that they're playing are pretty damn good. And Conference USA for basketball, I mean, it's a pretty good conference.
It is. Yeah, there are a lot of great teams in Conference USA this year. And some of these opponents that, looking at the schedule, FIU already presented themselves as a formidable opponent to both Charlotte and UAB, right? During that winning streak. But now they have to run it back against both teams back-to-back on the road in early February. That's going to be probably the 2 biggest stretches of games for FIU men's basketball. They were good enough to beat them once, but can they do it again in a much tougher
if they do it again, that's you really got to start considering FIU as one of the powerhouses of Conference USA. at least in my opinion. And Jake,
They certainly
Sounds good.
could be, but they need to prove it, right? They need to
Yep.
prove it. It was
Very
nice. The moral victory against FAU was great because you made a potentially ranked team give it their all just to beat you. The moral victories are nice, but the moral victories will not get you a nice seed in the tournament or a spot in March Madness, right? They're not going to do that. So FIU is going to need to close out these games against familiar opponents and some of the more earnable, I'll say, games against opponents like Rice, right? Against like Rice
is good, yeah.
And I would say Louisiana Tech. Those games, FIU has to capitalize on.
Yeah, I agree. And Jake, it's time to shine. News break. Let's do it.
Okay, it's time for a somewhat early news break. We're 20 minutes in, but I got a couple of stories for you all in this news break where, of course, we go over all things FIU athletics and just FIU in general. So first thing, FIU defensive back Demetrius Hill has been named to the Football Writers Association of America Freshman All-American Team. That title is quite a mouthful, but it's meant for redshirt freshmen across the country who have done a fantastic work in their first year of play. And in this case, Demetrius Hill racked up 95 tackles, a lot of which were tackles for a loss, and even got himself an interception this past season. He's the second FIU Panther to ever be named to the, here we go, Football Writers Association of America Freshman All-American Team. He's the first Panther since 2008 to be on that list. So congratulations, Demetrius. You did a great job. And moving away from FIU Athletics, a joint venture between Adam America Real Estate and JW Capital Management has secured $147 million in financing for the development of a 932-unit housing development near FIU. This 22-story complex will offer a mix of studios and 1 to 3 bedroom suites with shared common areas and a private room. Amenities at this facility will include study conference rooms, a library, lounge areas, a gym, and a pool with 647 parking spaces. The property will be across from the east entrance of FIU on Southwest 17th Street, and the project is expected to begin in the fall of 2024. And that is your FIU news break. Something I will say, Kevin, is that the more housing available at FIU, the better, because of how big the campus seems to get every year. Seems like no matter what 4 years you stay at FIU, they're always destined to see a giant construction crane or see some construction areas around campus with FIU. It never ends, Kevin. I hope you realize what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah, it's not going to be fun. But some baseball breaking news. What is
baseball breaking news? Uh-oh.
Oh, this is cool. All AAA ballparks to have robo umps. So for the ones
robotic
that know,
umpires.
Robo umps were used in low A. So in this case for the Marlins, it'd be Jupiter. I was able to see it in person. Pretty cool. I like it. Let's see if it works in AAA. Huge change. That's the closest you'll get to the big leagues for my non-baseball fans. So
maybe we can see it in college.
Maybe that would be nice. That would be very nice. Especially
and then
for these guys to prepare for what's up.
Yeah. It feels like robotics are still very far away from the majors, even though I feel like they could have introduced robots like a decade ago, and I think most people would have been happy because of the way most umpires happen to be scrutinized. Angel. Excuse me.
Yeah, you know who I'm talking. Yeah. You're right. All right. We finished news break, and now I think it's time to pop one of these again before we get into talking FIU.
Hey. Lights out! Lights out!
Because we're talking about the FIU football squad who released their schedule just recently. And look at this. I did not notice this.
It's perfect.
It's perfect.
You can see it right there.
You can still see our lovely faces.
Yeah. That's awesome. Good job, Kevin. I'll give you a pat on the back for that one.
I'll take it. I had no idea this was going to come up like this. But yeah, let's talk some FIU football. The exact day of the week is not written on here, but I will read it out.
Okay.
FIU will start August 26th against Louisiana Tech. That is a Saturday game. That is the week. I did not know college football had week 0, Jake. Is this like a preseason type thing, or is this actual?
Oh no, it's real.
It's real? Jesus Christ. Okay. September 2nd against Maine. That is a Saturday game. That is at home against North Texas. So this is part of this deal that I'm going to put up on the screen right here. FIU to battle North Texas in 2-game non-conference series. So
Okay.
this is non-conference.
Mm-hmm.
This is on Saturday. I will definitely be at that. I'll probably be at all home games this year, Jake, and I know you will as well. So we'll be covering that together.
Yeah, I think I can make it too, and I'll explain to you and the lovely audience why that is the case earlier. But there are some wacky days that football is going to be played for FIU and for Conference USA this season.
And I do want you to explain this because this also has to do with the TV rights
Yeah.
deal and all that stuff. But September 26th, FIU travels to Connecticut to face, I believe that is UConn.
The UConn Huskies, yes.
UConn Huskies. That was my first game I ever covered against UConn.
Yeah.
And Saturday. Then Liberty, a very nice school. We've heard all the hype about their facilities. That is a Thursday game. Then you have New Mexico State on October 5th. That is a Thursday. FIU will welcome UTEP. That is on a Thursday. That is on a Wednesday. You're getting the trend here for the ones watching. These are all weekday games. Now at Sam Houston State, Wednesday. That is October 18th. Jacksonville State. I believe those are the Gamecocks.
Yep.
That is on Wednesday, October 25th. Middle Tennessee. They will go to Middle Tennessee. That is on a Saturday, November 11th. Arkansas. That is on a Saturday. And then finally, to wrap up the season, hopefully with a bowl appearance after, it would be Western Kentucky on a Saturday, November 25th. So, Jake, explain to the fans why we're seeing so many of these weird games with now the new TV rights deal with, I believe it's CBS, right? ESPN
Yeah,
Plus.
so the new TV rights deal is with CBS Sports and ESPN Plus, like a joint group. And with that group, most of Conference USA, which, as I'm sure most of you know, 6 teams are leaving Conference USA to head to the AAC, and they've brought 4 teams in. And you can see that FIU is actually playing all 4 new teams to Conference USA this season, being Liberty, New Mexico State, Sam Houston State, and Jacksonville State. With that deal, it's going to allow most schools in the conference to make a lot of money, and for all of them to be broadcasted on most of them to be broadcast on national TV, including CBS Sports Network, the various ESPN channels, and of course ESPN Plus, which means that they are saying goodbye to the Stadium Network as well as Conference USA TV for basketball and baseball down the road. But as a result of that deal, and in an effort to get as many games nationally broadcast as possible, a lot of Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday games are going to be played across the conference, and that is evident in the schedule. You want to hear something crazy?
Go for it.
Only 2 home games for FIU, or excuse me, 3 home games for FIU. That's half of their home games. Only 3 will be on a Saturday. The others will be on a Thursday or a Wednesday.
It's going to be so weird, man.
I couldn't tell you the last time I've seen a Wednesday college football game, not just for FIU, but like in general for college football.
When was the last time they played on a Thursday, dude?
It's been a while for Thursday. I do recall that sometimes they have played on a Thursday. I believe their game against Miami in 2019, or no, their season opener last year against Bryant, that was on a Thursday.
That was a Thursday. That was a Thursday. You're right.
Yeah. So they've played on Thursday and Friday plenty of times, but Wednesday is a whole new endeavor for FIU. And
we'll be there.
We'll be there. I know a lot of people are probably not going to like this because, of course, Saturday's the weekend. It's when you can probably have a lot of free time and make it out to a college game. But for someone like me, who, in addition to FIU, I also have the opportunity to cover the Miami Dolphins or just go to Dolphins games on Sunday, having to drive to campus, drive back, and then drive to Hard Rock Stadium the day after, it gets crazy sometimes. So to have these games on Wednesdays and Thursdays, I actually kind of like it for my own perspective. But I know if you're watching this and you're like, God, Wednesday, that just sounds like such a weird game for college.
Yeah.
I can't attend because I have work or I have something I have to do. I get it, right? I understand. So it's very controversial, but that's just the way it's going to go for the foreseeable future.
And then, when you go to my perspective, the high school perspective, this sucks. You wouldn't be able to go almost to a single game, maybe the Saturday one. But I won't be in high school when the season starts. I'll be in FIU. So change. Most of my time will be. Look, we had the shirts on today too, man. We're
yeah. We had to represent. Right.
Yeah. So that's where I wanted to allude to. From a perspective of what is a student, this is great. You're on campus most of the time. Just wrap up a class and head over to the stadium.
I will, now that there's a caveat, because while the dates have been announced, the times haven't. So
you're right.
If they elect to do a noon game on Wednesday,
that
so many students are going to get screwed because of that for FIU. They shouldn't, and I don't think they will.
Have they ever had a Thursday noon game?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, that just makes no sense.
The way it goes, not just for FIU, but also for college, but also professional football, is that midday games or midweek games are prime time, and the weekend, obviously, weekend games can be whatever. It depends, but Wednesday it's strange, right?
Yep.
I can't, like I said, I couldn't tell you the last time I've ever watched a Wednesday football game. I don't know off the top of my head. I can't think of one.
Just in general, not even NFL, which we'll get into because NFL week is going to be freaking crazy. Anything else?
So I will say I do like the fact that for the first time in I want to say a while, there isn't a 3 straight week period of either road or home games. Now, I think that generally 2 games at home and 2 games on the road is nice, but when you hit 3 games at home, 3 games on the road, it definitely gets a little complicated. And especially on the road, if you have to go to 3 straight road games, you're going to I guarantee you some of the players, they probably get tired of all the traveling that needs to be done 3 straight weeks. But thankfully that's not here for the schedule. And I will say I love the fact that FIU is not starting off their season against a cupcake school like they've done the past couple of years against Long Island.
Yeah,
Brian. They were going to do it against Maine, but the Louisiana Tech game has taken over, and that is now the first game of the season, which I think actually might be a great thing to have FIU play real competition to begin their season and set up the rest of the year.
This is a pretty tough schedule, Jake. We were talking off camera before about some of these teams' records last year. New Mexico made it to a bowl game.
Yeah.
I mean, who else? UNT got to the finals.
Oh, yeah. Teams like UTEP, Western Kentucky, Middle Tennessee. Like, oh, my God, the Middle Tennessee.
Western Kentucky beat Western Kentucky and embarrassed FIU last year. So you really have to start thinking, like, this is a pretty damn good schedule. Shout out to Scott Carr, who set this all up, because I'm pretty sure it's him who sets this up with Mike McIntyre, who we hope to have on the show at some point before the season starts. So a lot to get into. Now, are we doing a collective prediction here, or are we going to?
I say let's go game by game, but
game by game.
I do want to mention that.
Are we going to agree on a one record, or are we going to have our own individual record?
Well,
I think we should have the Paws Up Podcast football way too early record, and then we'll get
all right. Yeah, let me.
And then we'll do our own individual records.
Let me get out a pen and a piece of paper so I don't contradict myself. But
this is
one
our,
thing I will say.
Thoughts. We have to agree on this.
Yeah, one thing I will say on the just the last thing I'll say about the schedule in general is that I'm happy. Out of all the teams that left the conference and FIU doesn't have to play anymore, I'm really happy UTSA is no longer there. It seems like for the last couple of years we had to play UTSA and we would get shelled because UTSA was one of the best teams in college, or not in college football. Whoa, in Conference USA.
Where do they go now? Them and FAU as well.
So most of the schools in Conference USA have left to the AAC, the American Athletic Conference. You might recall that, I believe, what was it? It was UCF and Cincinnati are leaving the AAC to go to, I believe, the Big 12. And as a result, the AAC has brought in a bunch of teams from Conference USA. And those 6 teams that are joining are UAB, FAU, Charlotte, North Texas, Rice, and UTSA. So yeah,
Rice left. Rice isn't even that good. They would benefit staying.
I guess they wanted some variety. So keep in mind that probably the reason for Rice leaving is that Houston, the University of Houston, also left the AAC. So they probably just wanted to keep a school in Texas. So they got Houston. So keep in mind Cincinnati, UCF, and Houston leaving the AAC to the Big 12, so that they're bringing in these 6 schools to sort of fill in that role. And they are going to get some great there's some great teams in FAU, UAB, and UTSA. We know how good they've been. So, all right. So let's go game by game, Mr. Kevin, and see what we both say.
La Tech. What do you think?
La Tech.
I think they win this one.
Really? You do?
They beat them in double overtime last year.
That was a great game, right?
That was an amazing game.
I'll agree. I'll say that's a W.
All right. Maine. I say they win.
Yeah, that was going to be one of those free begin the season games that FIU, and like most schools, FIU is not the only guilty school to do this. I mean, Miami, they always play Bethune-Cookman in the beginning of the year, and they always
I was at that game this year.
So, yeah, I'll say that's a W.
All right, UNT. That's their first loss, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's their first L.
Followed by UConn loss as well.
I think it's going to be close. UConn actually, I know they actually did have a pretty good season last year, especially because UConn's like one of those schools that they're a basketball school. They're not a football school. They had a good year. It is on the road though, and for that, I'll give if it was in Miami, I would say maybe they'd bounce back. But yeah, I'd say that's an L.
All right, that is Liberty. I think they'll lose.
Yeah, I think they will lose too. And unfortunately, at this point, that would mean they began the season 2-0. Now they're 2-3. They've dropped 3 straight. That ain't good.
Nope. Do you think this is where they make Keon Jenkins their guy?
We'll see. We'll see.
This also, I mean, are way too early. This is just us thinking.
Yeah.
But you also have to think, man, who's going to be the quarterback? What's the offensive line going to look like? Who's your running back core?
Once we have those answers, but like a week before the season begins, then maybe
we'll do another. We'll come back.
We'll look back and see like what we would change. Right? This is just
not even what we would change. We could even predict this whole thing again.
Yeah.
All right. So what is this? What team is this?
New Mexico State.
New Mexico. I think they lose.
No, they win. I say they beat New Mexico State already last year.
Oh, did they? Oh, okay.
Yeah. That was like
I thought that was the team that made a bowl game.
Yeah, it was, but but they still beat them 21-7.
Jesus Christ. Okay,
it was that that game against New Mexico State last year. That was FIU's first win against an FBS team since 2019. That was like the record snapping game for FIU. That was a massive game for them, and they won.
Okay. Let's give them the win.
I'm going to say they're going to do it again. I'm going to say they're going to do it again.
Let's do it. 3-3. You go up against UTEP. I think they'll beat them at home.
Yeah. Well, so what was the game? They played them last year. They lost 40-6, right? But I do think that UTEP is one of those teams that has gotten a little worse. They've suffered like FA in the past, where transfer portal, seniors graduating. I'll say that FIU shows me something against this game.
The turning point game.
I can see the UTEP game being their homecoming. And if it's not UTEP, then it's Liberty. But I don't think they would put it against Liberty because they want it against a more winnable team. So
their homecoming game was against UConn last year. So yeah, you would assume it's UTEP.
I'll say the homecoming game is UTEP. It's going to be lit there, and I say that FIU gets the dub.
Okay, next team.
Sam Houston State. I'll say that's also a dub.
I think that's a dub. So
you just like that, you've won 3 straight. You've balanced the 3 straight losses with 3 straight wins. So you're up to you're up to 5-3 for me. Is that what you have as well?
Oh, I've not been taking count. I have been just going off of what you said.
Gotcha.
Whoops.
Okay.
All right, Jacksonville. This is the team that you told me absolutely destroyed the Panthers in the COVID year. So
So during that COVID year when FIU went 0-5, one of their losses was against Jacksonville State. And this was when Jacksonville State was, I think, still in FCS, part of the Ohio Valley Conference. And it was one of like 3 or 4 FCS beats and FBS moments in that COVID year, which was not a great year.
I want to ask you, did you guys cover during the COVID year? You guys would go in person?
Of course we did. We had to wear masks and we had to, social distancing and all that stuff. We had to do a COVID test and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, we went.
Zoom pressers were on Zoom?
Yeah. All the press conferences were, I believe they were Zoom.
That must have been weird, just being in a stadium.
It was weird. And unfortunately, prior to the COVID year, I had never missed a football game on campus, but I had to then because during that time when football season began, a lot of the on-campus classes were canceled and moved to Zoom, and students who stayed on campus had to go. So that was the situation I was. I couldn't make it to most of the games that year. Granted, there were only like 3 games to go to anyway, because most of them ended up being canceled. But I did go to the Jacksonville State game, and that was probably my worst moment as an FIU student, sitting there and watching this FCS nobody, who, by the way, doesn't even play in Jacksonville, Florida. They play in Jacksonville, Alabama.
Jeez, I did not know that.
They knocked off FIU. I'll never forget Barstool FIU. When it was announced that Jacksonville State would be joining Conference USA, they're like, all right, FAU's leaving, but we have a brand new interstate rivalry between Jacksonville State. Let's go. And then they just got absolutely flamed by people who are like, actually, they play in Alabama, not Florida. So we're rambling on here, but I do think they're going to win this time.
All right,
they are a much better team.
This is a very scary game, but we'll give them the win. After everything you told me there?
Yeah. Middle Tennessee, that's an L.
You think? They held up pretty well against Middle Tennessee in this final game of the year.
Yeah, but that was at home.
You're
on the road.
Right.
I think the loss. I'll double check this, but I think Middle Tennessee had a near perfect record at home last year. I'll double check just because all of a sudden I'm curious. But Middle Tennessee was a phenomenal team last year.
Man, I can't wait to have the Jersey Mikes again.
Oh man,
I'm just thinking about it right now in the press box, having a good time.
That was fire. Okay, they were 3-2 at home. All right. Well, I'll say that. I mean, again, Middle Tennessee, they went to a bowl game. They beat, I believe, San Diego State. I'll say FIU drops one there.
FIU, yeah, that's better. That's a good drop. Yeah.
Arkansas is another L. Let's just be real here. Let's not be like, oh my god, they could pull off the upset. Let's be
not sugarcoat it. Yeah.
Arkansas.
Okay, Western Kentucky. This is the game we could eye. And FIU, I think, will have motivation. They'll have a chip on their shoulder.
So hang on, before we even predict this, right? Let's look at my list. So before the Western Kentucky game, FIU has a 6-5 record. So they're in a bowl game. The way our predictions are heading into this game, they're in a bowl game. Now, if they lost, say, one game against let's say Jacksonville State does the they knock them off again. They enter the Western Kentucky game with a 5-6 record, needing to win it to get into a bowl game. Right? So the stakes are certainly raised whether or not FIU up to this point has clinched a bowl game or not. And I will say that there is a very good chance that they beat Western Kentucky, right?
You think?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think they could because they're at home, right? They're at home.
Okay.
Look, let's both agree on one thing. That we believe that this overall team will be a better team than what it was last year.
I agree.
Just going off of the players we've gotten from the transfer portal and from whom Coach Mike and the team has signed, we both think that this FIU team will be improved. Now, this is going to be a massive test against Western Kentucky, but I think they have what it takes to win. My heart says they're going to finish the year with a win, and that's going to be awesome. But my brain is telling me if they're 6-5 going into this game, they're probably not going to find a way to win. So I'm going to say that's an L. And it's a bit unfortunate because the way I have this set up, the season's going to begin with 2 wins, 3 losses, 4 wins, then 3 losses to end.
Might be Dolphins season.
Yeah, I'm getting Dolphins vibes from this. But based on this, we're looking at a 6-6 record, probably going into a bowl game.
Still feel good about it.
Yeah, especially, you're going from 4-8 to
6-6 with a bowl game.
With a bowl game.
Even if it's the Bahamas Bowl, it's a bowl game.
Probably not a conference tournament appearance, but that's okay.
Probably not. Now you have to start thinking here. I really do think FIU has a chance to be one of the better teams in Conference USA.
Mm-hmm. They could.
What do you agree? Because now UTSA is gone. FIU's gone.
Yeah.
FIU has to be maybe next year, not this year. Next year, not this upcoming season, 2023. 2024, this team has to be maybe the best team in Conference USA. Just how you could think of this team projecting with McIntyre. What do you agree there or no?
Oh yeah, I agree. You know what? Just because you brought up McIntyre, roll that clip one more time, Kevin.
Roll it up. All right, let's roll.
Yeah.
Lights out! Lights out!
Lights out.
Hopefully, Mike will be saying that after they hoist the Bahamas Bowl trophy this season. It's like this season was lights out.
And start flicking the lights of the stadium.
I would love to go to the Bahamas Bowl. Can we both say that? Spend a weekend in the Bahamas, watch FIU beat Toledo for a second straight time at the Bahamas Bowl. That'd be awesome.
That'd be nice. Go cover
so 6-6.
I like it.
And who knows? Maybe FIU can shock us, knock off some teams like UConn and Middle Tennessee.
I do think Middle Tennessee and UConn are winnable games.
They are winnable games. I feel like their games against North Texas and Liberty, they're probably not good. I feel really confident in saying they're not going to win those. Same with Arkansas, because
the 3 games I could tell you I'm confident they won't win are that Arkansas game.
The Arkansas game feels like cheating, right? I mean, this big bad SEC school has to play a group of 5 team at the end of their season just to stat pad. I feel like that's what but the thing is, most teams do that in the beginning of the season. It's rarer to see it at the end. And that's a bit disappointing that, I know FIU is getting paid out the wazoo to play Arkansas. Right.
All right.
But yeah, 6-6, I have it as.
All right. We Paws Up Podcast predicts FIU at the moment. Way too early prediction. 6-6.
Way too early.
Way too early.
Yeah.
But anyways, all right, we move on. FIU signs Avery Huff, former 4-star linebacker.
Big man.
4 stars. I mean, for FIU to sign one of those guys, it's crazy.
Can you name the last time FIU assigned a 4-star player?
It wasn't even T.Y. Hilton, huh?
I don't think it was.
Jesus. I mean, something interesting that I got from Liam was from the podcast we did last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, you know, Keon Jenkins, for example. If he was in Texas or another place, he may have been 4-star.
Really?
That's what he said.
So Avery Huff,
he barely played with UM. I checked the stats.
Yeah, he's a sophomore, right? But he didn't even play at all last season.
He didn't play at all? Oh, geez.
No.
Okay, he's been in linebacker.
His total stats span from 2020 to 2021 with 8 total tackles, 1 single solo tackle, and 7 assisted tackles, and that's it as far as his stat line goes.
Not good. Given
so it is worth pointing out that every game that he played, Miami ended up winning. Don't take that information with what you will, but don't turn it into something
crazy. What are the stats? Total stats.
Total stats. Here we go. I mean, there's not much to say total stat wise. 8 tackles.
That's it.
That's it.
Jesus. All right.
5 tackles in 2020.
You can't blame the kid. You can't blame him. You can't blame him.
Clearly, he was in a system at the University of Miami that didn't really require him, and that's why that's why
that's interesting.
He wanted to go to a team that would use him.
You have to start thinking that FIU really is getting better and better at recruiting as we go on, huh?
We can't really say if Mr. Huff is a phenomenal player that's going to be revolutionary for FIU because we've hardly ever seen him play. But it is cool to have a 4-star recruit like this, who, by the way, is from Fort Lauderdale. He is a South Florida kid.
You know what's cool? You know who just followed me on Twitter?
Who is that?
Dolphins legend Duke Johnson.
Duke Johnson.
He's a huge Marlins fan.
He was low-key a beast.
He was, dude. Nice
for a very long time.
He may be a future Fish Stripes guest, so stay tuned.
Maybe. Well, I would say let's put him on the show, but he has like no correlation to FIU at all.
Yeah.
But the Dolphins fan in me says, "Oh, that's cool. That's really cool, Duke Johnson."
Yeah. Well, anyways, before we get into the Dolphins, last thing I want to say with Avery Huff is this guy could be the Gaithan Bernardell that FIU lost to Stanford. So, I mean, maybe even better. I think now if he has a huge season, he's going to transfer. I would say because
we'll see. Right?
You're going into your junior year now, or is he going into sophomore year?
He is. He is currently a sophomore.
So he could.
I believe he was a red shirt in 2020. Freshman in excuse me. Just straight up freshman in 2020, sophomore in 2021, and now I believe this will be my junior year. Forgive me if I get that wrong.
It should be.
Yeah. But like I said, he's a South Florida kid, playing for a South Florida team.
Should be fun to watch him and talk to him whenever we get the chance.
Hell yeah.
All right. I'm very excited about this.
It's NFL Super Wild Card Weekend.
All right, so let's just say this right now. We are both taking the Bills before we get into anything. That's the clean sweep for us. All right. Seahawks versus 49ers. I like the matchup, but Brock Purdy is going to stay undefeated, and he's going to beat Mr. Geno Smith. Which shout out to the Seahawks. They play their butts off this year.
All I'll say is that it's crazy that Geno Smith has been playing in this league for as long as he did, and he and Brock Purdy have just about the same playoff experience. So I don't think there's really going to be an advantage there at quarterback. If you put Geno Smith in the San Francisco 49ers system, he's going to the Super Bowl.
Probably.
That's just how good San Francisco is. They're just so stacked. They're unbelievably stacked. Right?
There we go.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Oh, perfect. Thinking outside the box here. So you can see our beautiful faces while we talk about this. I'll take San Francisco, though I will say Seattle keeps it very close. I will say the Monday night playoff game is weird. Just can we talk about that? There's no 1:00 Saturday game. That seems a little strange.
I would have loved Dolphins Bills 1:00 Saturday just to get it over with.
Yeah.
Not only that, I'll work on Sunday, so I'll be watching the second half of this game, which will not be fun.
So clean sweep for San Francisco?
Yeah.
Okay.
Chargers versus Jaguars. This is going to be a fun game.
This might be the closest game of this whole wild card weekend. Not even joking.
This one and Vikings and Giants, I believe, will be the closest because it's not 1 p.m. Kirk Cousins. But
yeah,
this is so hard, man. Ooh. I'm gonna go with the Florida team. I think Jacksonville upsets.
I find it crazy that
upsets because let's be honest, Chargers are the better team, but Jacksonville.
Yeah, I think on paper Jacksonville on paper Los Angeles is the better team.
Yeah,
but Jacksonville, they're one of those teams that are playing hot at the right time. They found their groove at the right time, and I will say, I do think the NFL playoff system is very stupid when you have a team like Jacksonville hosting a playoff game.
It's still cool.
It's cool for them. And again, this is, Jacksonville fan base that, they got to see their Jaguars lose to the Patriots in the AFC Championship game, and nothing has really happened since then. Back when they had Saxonville, right? But now it's all about Trevor Lawrence. It's tough. I really don't know who to pick. Who are you taking, Kevin?
Taking Jacksonville.
You're taking Jacksonville. Okay.
I just don't trust the Chargers in the playoffs for some reason.
I agree.
That's an underdog pick, technically.
I will. Yeah, I guess it is an underdog pick, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I'll give the slight edge to Los Angeles because while I love both quarterbacks,
it's gonna be a super close game anyways.
I'll give it to Justin Herbert because at least he's played, or has he? He has played in the playoffs before, right? Has he?
No, this would be his first playoff
No. Okay. All right. Well, Oh, that's right. It was Mac for New England. I somehow got into a playoff game last year. Somehow.
And we saw what happened against Buffalo, huh?
I need a coin flip for this one. I don't know who to take. I think both teams enter this game kind of even, right? Great offenses, pretty good defenses, but you know what? Just so that we don't go clean sweep the entire list, I'll go Los Angeles here. I'll say Chargers get the win.
Okay, I'll take it. All right, we already spoke our Dolphins cries. I will say though, if the Dolphins defense steps the hell up, I think they have a chance.
No, I think if Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson combined for like 500 rushing yards, then Miami has a chance because I want to like Skyler. I'm sure he's a cool dude, right? But it just sucks how for the last two times Miami's been in the playoffs, this year in 2016, their starting quarterback got injured. They had to go on the road with a backup quarterback, and in the 2016 case against Pittsburgh, they got smoked.
That was not fun. I'll watch that game.
I don't think they're going to get absolutely destroyed. I think Josh Allen's going to have a good game, but he's not going to have an amazing game.
I think it'll be closer.
Like 24-10 or 13. It's going to be cold. It's not going to be snowy. Let's just both say that cold will not be a problem, right? It really wasn't a problem for the snow game. And it's not going to be a problem here.
The snow was the problem.
Yeah, and I think the forecast calls for like no snow for this game.
Perfect. Miami has a chance.
They have a chance, though very slim. You know, what's that Doctor Strange quote in Endgame? Like there are like 14 million universes, and there's one where this outcome can happen. There is one universe where Miami can win this game. Yeah. But I don't think that universe is this one. So I hate to say it because, you know, it's been so exciting this last week that, oh my God, Miami's in the playoffs. Let's go. But then hearing the news yesterday that Tua's out, it's like, oh.
That was hard.
That was hard.
Because you would, I would say I would have taken Miami as the underdog if Tua was playing.
I probably would have done the same thing. And
that's not even being a Dolphins fan. That's being serious. I think Tua is good enough to take this team all the way.
I want to like Skyler. Maybe he'll end up being a good backup quarterback for Miami in the future. But he can't win this. He just can't. He can't win it.
What if he pulls the Brock Purdy, man?
Well, he would have pulled the Brock Purdy in his first start, just like Brock Purdy, right?
Yeah, but I mean, he still played all right.
He would need to pull let me give you some old school Dolphins. He would need to pull a Don Strock.
Jesus, I have no idea who that is.
Backup for Greasy and Marino, right? And he was the original FIU football head coach.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Whoa.
So he would need to become Don Strock. And he was not Don Strock against the hapless New York Jets.
I think he knows what's on the line. Man.
He's not going to be the Don Strock against this Buffalo team that, by the way, they're going to be playing for DeMar Hamlin. He's probably going to be at the game. They're going to give it up 200% just to win this. I think you would be a fool not to take the Bills here.
Yeah, I'm taking Buffalo, obviously. All right. Giants versus Vikings. I'm taking the Giants. My underdog pick.
That is a great pick.
It's an amazing pick. The betting line is perfect too to take it.
Yeah.
I took Mario.
I might have to agree with you. I say these two teams have already played, right? They've already played this season.
I think the Vikings won, but keep in mind it's 1 p.m. Kirk Cousins. So
1 p.m. Kirk Cousins. Let me just double check what that game was, because let's see, Vikings. Here we go. They lost 27-24. God, they were so close. I think overall, the best player on the field will be Justin Jefferson in this game.
Yeah.
If the Vikings win, it's because Jay Jettis will have like an insane amount of catches, an insane amount of yards, and score most of their touchdowns. But I think that New York, I think Saquon will go off. I certainly think Daniel Jones will have a great game. And I like Brian Daboll as the better coach as well.
Yeah.
Although
the Vikings coach is pretty great.
Yeah, he is good. But
Daboll's going to be coach of the year, though.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you, Kevin. I'm going to go New York here.
All right. So is Cincinnati's not the underdog here, right?
No.
All right.
Look,
well, we're taking Bengals.
Lamar's probably. I think I don't know if they've.
He's out.
Lamar is out.
He's out.
He's out.
Yeah.
So
Tyler
it's just going to be like the Dolphins game. Give me Cincinnati. You're playing a team with playoff experience, right? And you're a rookie quarterback. That never goes well in the playoffs, except for Nick Foles. But that was magic.
Well, Nick Foles wasn't a rookie. He
wasn't a rookie, but it was like the sort of same thing where a backup quarterback came in and led the team to the Super Bowl. I don't think Huntley's going to do that for Baltimore. Okay, so give me Cincinnati. Really, not much to be said. Sadly, I don't even think it's going to be an exciting game. It's going to be like a blowout at halftime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Bucks and Cowboys.
I think this is going to be I was going to say second closest game, but all right, I'll split it at third. It's going to be the third best game. That's a really weird prediction, but yeah.
Very weird. Shoot, man.
Who do you trust? It's like, who do you trust more? Do you trust Dak, who I honestly think will never win anything in Dallas, or do you trust the GOAT? And I think the answer here is obvious. You trust the GOAT.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say this. If Tom Brady wins this game, he's going all the way.
You really think so?
Yeah. Well,
I can see it happening.
I think they'll make NFC Championship.
Yeah.
Because you have Brock Purdy.
True. Well, and let's not forget that.
Well, not Brock Purdy.
I still think Philadelphia is a great team. The teams for the first round buys are Kansas City in the AFC and Philadelphia in the NFC. I do think the Eagles are a great team, right?
They are.
They're like one of the few teams that have like absolutely zero flaws. Like you can't really point out a specific flaw with Philadelphia.
I just don't know why I don't trust them.
Yeah. You don't trust them because they're being led by an inexperienced quarterback, right? And Jalen Hurts.
He was really good He played last year, right? He was the starter. Or is this his first full year as a starter?
I think this is his first full year as a starter.
Wow, that's impressive then. Okay.
I mean, he obviously had a great career in Alabama, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, so did Tua, right?
Yeah. Oh man, I'm taking the Bucks.
I'm taking Tampa Bay.
And that's where we end it.
Yeah. I'm going to say, so what? The winners are
San Francisco for me, Jacksonville for me, Buffalo for me.
Giants. I think we only had one we had 5 clean sweeps and only one disagreement. It's the Los Angeles Jacksonville game. I picked the Chargers, you got the Jags.
Yep.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, I think we end it here, Jake.
Yeah. It was a fun show. An hour, right?
An hour on the dot. It never happens.
Yeah.
And man, maybe we do another one of these a couple times, just us
maybe
vibing, talking some FIU.
It's not like Liam where we have to contact an agent, and we have to sign a bunch of paperwork, pay the fees, pay the royalties. Yeah.
It takes too long, man. It takes too long, and just saying, hey man, let's film. Let's do it. But yeah, from myself, from Jake, Edwin, and Gus, shout out to them for giving us the opportunity as always. Edwin,
we love you guys.
We love you all. Thank you for watching. You could watch this anytime. It's on YouTube. It's on the podcast version. It's also on Twitter. So just subscribe, follow us on the Paws Up. We're growing, man. We are growing, Jake.
We are growing. We're getting close to that episode 10 mark. Episode 10 is going to be crazy. It needs to be like a 2-hour special.
Double digits. We're going double digit episode there, and we're almost at triple digit followers on both of our social media accounts.
Hey,
Scott Carr always giving it love. FIU Hoops always giving us love.
And of course, you see it down there. Follow us on
right there.
on Twitter, Instagram, and of course, follow our accounts at Kevin_Barral.
I'll tell you guys how much we are at.
Yeah.
So we're at 63 followers on the Twitter, which I would like to get to 100. That needs to get to 100. Yeah. If you're watching now, get it to 100, and then we're on 52 on Instagram,
and of course be sure to follow both Kevin and I at Kevin_Barral. There you go. At Jake the MC.
So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Hell
Paws
yeah.
up, baby. Paws up.
Paws up.